3, 2, 1. Fragments of Silicon, and now with a new Gather the Fragments minigame.
Welcome to another installment of Fragments of Silicon. Joining me, as always, are, the usual crew of Galix.
Hello.
Ogre.
Mielo.
Petty Fan.
Hey.
And Twilight.
Yo.
All right, let's get to the news. Twilight, why don't you start us off this week?
Okay. Well, not really much has been going on this week. Weather's been average. Work has been kind of slow. And, besides that, been playing, what's it called? Jolton?
Jolton.
And, yeah, Jolton, yeah. And, I'll be planning on getting to the other game pretty soon. And besides that, that'll be it.
Well, don't forget we actually have 3 games this week.
Yeah, the other one.
Yeah.
That simpler one, I keep forgetting his name.
Spiral something or other.
Spiral, yeah.
Spiral Splatter. All right. Anything else?
Nothing else.
Okay. Galix?
I already played as much of Spiral Splatter as I'm getting to. That is to say, I got to the part where you have to start doing well at it before they let you go any further. Because that's not going to be happening regardless. Without a lot of frustration.
More on that in the actual review.
I still need to... Yeah.
There's a reason why we're doing 3 this week.
I still need to get to West of Loathing and Jotun, but I'm having trouble with all of the games I had to play, finding time to play Splatoon 2, which is kind of sad, but, it happens. Work's been going pretty ordinary. It's getting back into the swing of things, although it's pretty lonely this week. A lot of people on vacation.
Summer's almost over, so...
Yeah, people are getting their summer vacations and stuff in. Yeah, I don't think I have a whole lot else going on.
All right, Petty Fan, the motorcycle brigade said...
Well, let's see. Monday morning we woke up and we were gonna try and print something off, and the print roller and the printer we've had for about 7 years decided it's just wanted to seize up. So, and it's like the deep internal one, so I can't really do anything about that. So we had to go look for a new printer. Because this weekend was tax-free weekend, we had to go take a road trip to get one. Wasn't fun.
Like, how does that theme song go again?
Da 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 da. The universe hates Petty Fan. I forget the other lyrics were.
At least it's been kind of cool this past week, so I'm not sitting here fucking dying. And it has been raining, so I'm probably gonna have to run the lawnmower soon, which sucks. Yard work is the devil. Other than that, just been kind of looking forward to Sonic Mania. Sadly, I won't be getting the collector's edition because life things happened, but I'll probably...
Yeah, when does that come out?
That
Next
comes
week.
out next
week.
Tuesday.
Okay. One of the Let's Players I follow is planning on starting it at launch.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna stream it, probably once we get done with our Tuesday interview. Because, I don't know if you guys have noticed this or anything, but I'm a huge Sonic fan.
Who's been noticed?
So yeah, I'm gonna be playing the hell out of that Tuesday, so look forward to it. So yeah, I just need to pre-order the Steam Basic Edition, and then I'll see about getting the statue later.
Wasn't like that version $15, $20?
$20. So yeah, a whole lot better than the like $75 I was gonna be paying to get it shipped through GameStop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out why that's not getting a physical release. Like, you know, an actual.
Actually,
game
I saw some news, some things today that there have been hints that it is probably.
I think it might depend on the digital sales. Because Sega usually does that with some of their titles.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Like, I know the Switch version is getting physical release, but I think for the other consoles, it depends on sales. Again, we haven't talked to anybody at Sega about this, just purely conjecture.
Fair enough.
Other than that, not a whole lot's been going on.
Other than that. Right. Ogre, you're up.
It's been mostly a quiet week. Let's see, going on vacation here around the end of the month for our yearly weekend at the lake. So that should be nice and relaxing. I like the lake, so it'd be nice to get up there again.
Planning on doing fishing again?
No, they don't really. If you do fishing, you have to bring your own stuff, and I don't think we really have any fishing equipment around anymore. Let me see. Recordings are going fine.
Have you finished up Blaster Master Zero yet?
Not yet, but we're getting near the end there.
Figured.
Poor Naka missed a day of uploading videos because his internet had to up and kaput on him.
I'm surprised he hasn't uploaded like another video to get back on track, but whatever. Ogre?
His internet might have just died.
Oh dear. Like, I didn't hear him drop. Like, maybe his microphone.
Not audibly drop.
There
There
we
it
go.
goes.
Oh, I guess something of note for Sonic Mania. If you get it now, it's $17.99 on Steam for a pre-order discount.
Yeah, I get way too many. I get way too many games to this show for me to consider. Anyway, Ogre's back.
Where did I leave off at?
Blaster Master Zero.
Oh yeah,
Something about Naka's internet disappearing like yours did.
yeah, very ironic, I'd say. You know how the companies tend to have their own boxes out there for internet connections?
Somebody hit it.
Either a very disgruntled AT&T employee or somebody managed to break open into it and just basically ripped out the stuff.
Ooh.
Ow.
So either somebody screwed up horribly or somebody committed a felony.
Either or. I don't know how that conversation's going to work out for anybody, but that was that was my like, how did that happen? Only the company can get in that. Somebody was very vindictive.
You'd be surprised.
I would not be surprised. It's AT&T, so I'm assuming they've made some enemies somewhere.
Pretty much. Yeah. Like,
then
or
I
like
added
somebody
onto
not knowing what it was and looking for cable. Like
that too.
Copper.
Though I made the joke about it later. It's like, and it was kind of weird that Comcast salesman came around at the same time that went out too. I don't know what that was about. Speaking of, Petty was bringing up releases for Sonic. On my side of the globe here with Dragon Quest, apparently, I should have said this a couple weeks ago, but I forgot about it. But Yuji Horii himself said they're bringing Dragon Quest XI over to the West here in 2018. It's going to take it's going to take them a while because they have to translate into 5 different languages.
Yeah,
And
well,
then
no,
a couple
that's-
of days ago, the Square Enix announced it's going to release Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3 on the PS4 and 3DS. And they better fucking bring it over here, I swear to God.
Now, are these
Yeah,
remastered ports or just?
How do I put it? How do I put this? Expect PlayStation 4. Do not expect 3DS.
I better get fucking 3DS.
That I'm like, that seems to be up to Nintendo. Like Nintendo's done all the Dragon Quest games of late. Like it was Nintendo who brought over, Dragon Quest 7, Dragon Quest 8, shit, going back to Dragon Quest 6 and Dragon Quest 9.
Yeah.
So it's kind.
Well, I think they did Dragon Quest 5.
No,
well.
Square Enix did Dragon Quest V, and they did a really small print run of that one, which is why that version is really expensive compared to the others. Like,
I wouldn't sell mine either way, so. But, yeah, I'm crossing my fingers and hoping against hope that somebody does it, because as far as I know, it's going to be the Super NES remakes, and that's basically what's already on the smart devices. So all they have to do is take those scripts and put it on there, and
A little
just
more than
fucking
that,
release
but
it.
okay.
I mean, yeah, obviously a little more than that. Touch it up and all that shit, but put it on there. You could make them, all 3 of them, $20, and I'll put down $80 for them. I'll be like, yep, don't care. You have $20 more. I will tell you right now, if that fucking happens, I don't care. I will go up to Naka and go like, Naka, I know we're in the middle of our long-awaited Mario 64 playthrough, but we're doing Dragon Quest 1 right now, so you stop that shit.
And that's Dragon Quest 1 even, so...
Yeah. I'm like, of even more important news, they announced Dragon Quest Builders 2.
Yeah, that's getting a Switch release, too.
Yeah. Well, Dragon Quest 11 is supposed to get a Switch release.
Yeah, they're still working on that as far as I know.
That's the
Yeah,
MMO
but-
one, right?
No,
Yeah,
10
that's
is the MMO. 11 is the one that just came out.
Oh, I'm thinking of Final Fantasy.
That's surprising.
Wasn't it 9 that was extremely, like, Street Pass oriented?
Yeah, 9 was like the single player make your own party, but also do Street Pass things. But,
Street Pass was a thing.
yeah, was a major draw of it. Also the DSi network thing, so yay. Anyway.
All right.
Yeah, it's actually surprisingly, if you actually beat Dragon Quest 11, you can actually go to the store and download Dragon Quest 1 for free.
I guess you did that?
I don't even have 11. I don't have anything I can play with it.
Yeah, it's like, how would he play 11? He doesn't
So I
have.
can tell you right now, when 11 comes out, I'll buy the PS4, the 3DS, and the Switch version. I don't even have a PS4 or Switch right now.
Dude,
I'll
if
just
I
buy
lived
'em
anywhere
anyway.
near you, I'd let you borrow mine.
I'd just be like, bitches, guess what I got? And I don't own 2 of these systems.
Anyway.
But I love Dragon Quest, and that's all you need to know. Go on.
All right. I guess it's my turn. Let's see. Well, as mentioned last week, we had the last week's show on my actual birthday. Celebrated my birthday on Friday. Ended up going not to an Indian restaurant, but a Mexican restaurant. Like,
I'm
really good
hoping it
ones.
wasn't Taco Bell.
no, like, goddamn it, it's a real Mexican restaurant with real Mexican food.
What'd you guys get?
I got a combination taco, burrito, enchilada, and I can't remember what the fourth thing was. Chimichanga, maybe? But, I can't remember what my mom got. It's been about almost a week, so, memories of dinners past fade. But, it was all real Mexican food, all real ingredients, fresh ingredients kind of deal. Not fucking Taco Bell. like goddamn. Let's see. Also got a fidget cube for my birthday.
I have one of those.
Yeah, it's a cube with a lot of buttons on it, and it's shit. Well, I guess it beats the fidget spinner.
I have one of those.
They both have their ups and downs. The fidget spinner has the downside of having been monopolized for people who don't actually need it for stimming.
Yeah.
Mm.
Anyway, let's see. Yeah, progress is going on the show. We might be doing something Friday. We might. It all depends on Mac's schedule and what he wants to do.
Yeah, and by we, it's probably going to be on Mac's YouTube channel, not the Fragments YouTube channel or Twitch page.
It's just Mac's schedule is kind of slippery. I mean, we're looking to actually start doing a pilot of the political show, but Mac also said that Friday is the day that he and Keith do art, so no promises on anything. Everything about that's just kind of liquid right now.
Liquid.
Yes, thank you. MSP is set to return next week, I believe.
I think so, unless it's today, in which case we'll be very surprised when Mac calls.
Yeah, I'm like very surprised.
Mac, what are you doing? We don't have our pants on yet.
Anyway.
Yeah. On that note, merrily we shall roll along to the interview portion of our broadcast. And this week we have Jason Kim of Cardboard Utopia with us.
Hello.
Hello. How you doing?
I'm doing okay, more or less. Tired, but all right. You guys?
We're doing fine. We seem to be doing fine. Like, everyone doing fine?
As close to fine as I can be.
Mm-hmm.
Good here.
Good. Right. So, we like to usually start these things by asking how people got interested in video games in the first place, both like as a hobby and as a career.
All right. Well, I honestly don't remember when I started gaming. I was pretty young. I think I went over to a friend's place and he had like an Atari or something like that. Then after that, I think me and my brother begged our dad for an NES. And after a trip to the border and trying to hide it, coming across the border back into Canada, and then me snitching on my dad, I think then we had a NES with Ninja Turtles 2 and Boy and His Blob, I believe. And yeah, so after that, I was like pretty casual about games. I mean, I guess as casual as a kid can be. But it wasn't until playing Final Fantasy II on the SNES, or Final Fantasy IV, that I really fell in love with video games. And the JRPGs were my thing. That's what I loved to play. Borrowing my friend's SNES to play Final Fantasy 3 and everything like that. Super into video gaming. But that's as far as it went. But then I was 13 years old, and I was reading Game Players magazine. And inside was an article about the school Digipen. It's at the time it was kind of sponsored by Nintendo. It was in Vancouver, BC, Canada, and they had courses. It was a school focused on game development. And at the time, I think there was only Digipen and Full Sail, maybe Full Sail. It's not like it is now, where everyone has a video game program. But yeah, when I read about that, when I read about the school, I was like, oh my god, what? You mean there's a place that teaches you how to make video games? Like, because for me, game development was never a possibility. I always just figured I would run a grocery store like my dad. Um, and like people who make video games were always like other people, not not me, not my friends. They were other people. Kind of the same way that like no one real is an actor. No one you know will ever be an actor. Like that's what other people do. Yeah. So when I saw that that was a possibility, I basically in through junior high and high school, I would choose any of the classes that I thought were relevant because I, was, I went to school in a small town of like I don't know like a few thousand people I think, and yeah just kind of took whatever and then I ended up going to a school in Vancouver BC because Digipen had moved to Seattle at the time and went for a game design course and like there were very few other schools doing this in North America so yeah I went through that and the I didn't think that people would any of the companies would hire a junior like completely no experience game designer so I decided to focus on 3D art and like I worked on that. I worked on my portfolio. I eventually ended up moving to Montreal because the scene there was growing huge. Ubisoft. I mean, like this was before Splinter Cell came out, I guess. Ubisoft was growing a lot. They were hiring entire classes from the school I went to and moving them all to Montreal. And so I moved to Montreal and I ended up getting a job as a level designer at the studio. It used to be called Artificial Mind and Movement, or A2M, the unfortunately named. Um, but they changed their name recently, or a few years ago, I guess, to Behavior. So they make like Dead by Dawn and etc. And since then, I've been working in the game industry. I was working there for about 11 years, uh, 5 years there, and or something like that, and like other years at Ubisoft Montreal, where I just kind of realized, like after all those years, I was just like, I'm not doing what I want to be doing. This is not why I entered the industry. Like I'm not enjoying this. So I felt that I was secure enough in terms of experience, network, and some money that, yeah, then I made the leap to start Cardboard Utopia I left in 2013. Started
And
by 14.
and was it just you there, or were there other people at the founding of Cardboard Utopia?
It was just me, but a little bit like a couple months after I left, um, on the team that I was on at Ubisoft, the one of the lead programmers left to go indie, and like he's just doing his own thing. And then a couple months later, I left. But then a couple months after that, we ran into each other at like an event here in Montreal, and yeah, we started talking, and he was interested, and he joined up with the project, and was our lead programmer until the end of the game. But yeah, so it was just me at the start, and I just kind of slowly built up a team of people applying to the company, me contacting friends or just running into people that seemed interested and everything at other events.
Right. So how many people are at Cardboard Utopia now, and were they all local hires?
Well, we right now, since Children of the Zodiacs is finished, a couple people have left to do other things. So we are 5 people right now,
Mhm.
and we at peak during Children of the Zodiacs we were 8, and we were all from Montreal, local. Yeah. I mean, we don't really have the resources to relocate somebody.
I kind of figured, although with development being what it is you can get people from like all around the world working together.
True, you can, and I mean, we definitely worked with other people around the world worked on the project. Like we did work with a lot of freelancers, especially in the 2D art area. But in terms of like someone like very integral to the whole production, like a game designer, a programmer, an art director, like a lead artist, things like that. I actually prefer them to be on site because, like, one, you get to actually develop a personal relationship with them, and so you're more comfortable talking to them, bringing things up, and they're more comfortable bringing things up with you, and so that we can actually all work together, and also like the on a practical sense, the feedback loop is way faster. Like if the programmer implements a system and then have feedback for them, I just go to their desk, or they can just poke me anytime, and then we can communicate via like all the normal means of all the physical means of like talking, drawing out sketches, going to a meeting room, looking up examples together, everything like that. And so uh, while yeah, we can have like core members be off site, uh, that's not what we prefer. I'd rather have everyone that is an employee of the company on site.
Right. And where does the name Cardboard Utopia come from?
Okay. Yeah. So Cardboard Utopia, the name came from like me and the writer Damien. We were chilling at his place, just trying to figure out a name for the company and just talking and such. And he came upon this idea, like there is there's this village town. I'm not sure what you want to call it, what it's technically called, but it's called Kijongdong. It's on the North Korean side of the demilitarized zone between North and South Korea. Uh, and like this town, like it's all cool looking. It's got the giant flagpole and all these apartment buildings and things like that. Kind of like a hey, look how prosperous we are. We got all this crap. Oh yeah. Um, and then, but on closer inspection, uh, people noticed that like there was no glass in the windows. They were just openings. That there was nothing inside the buildings, just like like light bulbs.
They were like a couple levels more than like, okay, that's literally a cardboard facade.
Pretty much, yeah. Like it was completely empty. It was completely empty. Like anyone you'd see walking around the streets, they were either cleaning crew or soldiers in civilian clothing. And yeah, like it was this idea of and like I mean that places colloquially called propaganda village because like yeah, it's just pure propaganda. Um, and and that's kind of like where the combining of the words of like cardboard utopia, like something that looks amazing from the outside, but is like but's really it has no substance to it, and it's not structurally sound, and like it's really not as good as it looks. But like so that sounds super negative, and so that's not the reason why we chose that name. Like one, we just loved the idea of it, but then we realized that it had this extra layer of meaning to it, where it made us think about like when you're kids, uh, and you're like you use your imagination to just make anything that you can make like a fort and like out of pillows and like cardboard boxes and things like that, and it will be the most magnificent, glorious place. So yeah, and it was like just that idea of play and enjoyment, and like that that you can with like limited resources make something really spectacular, which is also kind of what I see being an indie is about. Um, yeah, and the other part of it was like, yeah, it's like super layered wedding cake of a name, I guess. The other part of it was it's for me personally, it's a reminder of what I wanted to move away from when I was working in AAA games. The idea where it was all about flash and something that looks amazing and all that, and then like blows your mind. You talk about with a friend, and the next day, but when you stop and think about it, it had no substance. That was like it just was empty. And so that's like a reminder for me of the types of games that I don't want to make, essentially.
So not more Assassin's Creed games.
uh, if we had the budget to make one, maybe. But I do think that they are. I mean, Origin actually looks pretty good, especially since I know the game director and I know what he likes to do and likes to design. So I actually have pretty high hopes for it. But I mean,
But you
like,
don't want to be just pumping out new editions of the same stuff to make people hopefully buy things just because it has the same name on it.
no, no. Like, I mean, a big part of going indie was to like not be confined to a specific aesthetic or a genre, but to really explore the ideas that we have and yeah, explore different genres instead of like working on like open world action RPGs or whatever games all the time or first person shooters. Like, I mean, I enjoyed while I worked on them, while I was there, and like I still enjoy them playing. But like I want to explore more in terms of what gaming is and the types of genres that we, the team, as players enjoy.
And has your expectations of that ideal matched up with the reality of the situation?
Uh, I don't fully understand.
Have you been able to explore what you wanted to explore on the indie scene?
Well, right now it's well, actually we're on our way to that. I mean, we've Shown of the Zodiacs is our first game that we've made, so I mean, we definitely try to explore in that direction with that one game. But with our next title, we're basically looking at different genre and a different, I guess you call it an aesthetic of play and the purpose of what it is of that game and what you get out of it as a player. So yeah, I'd say we're on that path.
That's good to hear. I suppose that leads us to, well, your actual first game, Children of the Zodiacs. Um, I suppose my first question is exactly what is a Zodiac?
Okay, so a Zodiac is it's this technology that was brought to the game world. Like the game takes place on the planet Loomis,
Mhm.
and the religion it says that long ago the people from a dark but very technologically magically advanced planet Umbra they came through a gateway onto Loomis and brought all this technological wonders and like all this advanced tech. Those are the Zodiacs, the Zodiac relics. Like they're taking the form of like magically infused machinery or sentient robots, or like in the biggest case for the game, uh, the Zodiac relics, the weapons that the characters have. And like the way they work is that the Zodiac weapons, they come in two parts. One generally is the part that's worn on the person, and then the other is kind of conduit, I guess, outward, where the Zodiac weapon, it draws from the person's willpower to draws out and kind of funnels it through the weapon part in order to like accomplish feats of like like magic attacks and super powerful like slashes and things like that.
Mm-hmm. And who came up with all the lore for this world, Loomis and the Zodiacs and so on and so forth?
It was me and our writer, Damien. We just kind of like meet every once in a while and just flesh out the world. Like I would tell him like what I was essentially going for, like what like the meta objective was, intention was, and we talk about it a bit. And then between meetings, he would flesh it out some more. We'd meet, talk about it, give feedback, and just kind of continue that process.
And was there any particular reason why you selected the strategy RPG genre to tell this story?
Well, it's actually kind of a simple reason.
Okay.
I haven't really like. I mean, I played a lot of SRPGs in the 16-bit and 32-bit days. Like I loved Shining Force, and I mean Final Fantasy Tactics was an amazing one. Playing Arc the Lad and things like that. But then after that, I kind of fell out of it. Like I wasn't a big fan of what was on the GBA and the DS, 3DS, PS3. Just that like it felt. I mean, other than Disgaea, they all felt like they were treading the same ground again and again and again, and nothing different was happening. And Disgaea, I just could not get into it. For me, I think it was a lack of a lot of characters, and other than Laharl and the demon girl, I forget her name. But yeah, and the systems I just was not a fan of. So when I was thinking of Chona Zodiacs, I was like I really want I wish like another SRPG that in the that like I would actually like would come out so I can play it. And then I was just kind of like, you know what? Nuts to that. I'm gonna make one. Why not? Why not this one? Yeah, okay. And that was kind of it, and that's where it all came out.
Uh, you were not satisfied with what was on market, so you decided to make your own.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
I can think
I've
of
heard
worse reasons behind a creative project.
Yeah, I'm like, it's like I suppose we could do with more strategy RPGs. Although I think this is what the third one we featured this year.
Actually, this like recently it's been like, and I'm talking like strategy RPGs, not turn-based strategy, where those games are more on the Western style and generally on PC. But I mean, PC consoles all merge now these days. But like like XCOM and Blackguard, those are more like turn-based strategy games. Whereas things like Final Fantasy Tactics, Shining Force, like the Japanese style, those are generally more referred to as like tactical RPGs or SRPGs. But yeah, like recently there's like in this past 2-3 months there have been a lot. like there was Regalia, there was God Wars, and there's Us, and yeah, yeah, it's. I think that's the ones I know of.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a lot for some reason. That's cool. Yay! Awesome.
Yeah, let's see. We featured a game called Hellenica Tactics, which was really interesting strategy RPG. Like, it has bounce mechanics. Like,
Oh, is that it has like your a 2D sprites, 3D environment, kind of
yes.
Greek-ish.
Yeah. It's based off of Greek mythos, but steampunk.
Right. Yes, I watched videos of that. Yeah, the bounce mechanic. That's true.
Yeah, and Chroma Squad, although that was the console versions. But still, Super Sentai strategy RPG is nothing to sneeze at. Yeah. So, anyway, in terms of movement, you went with grid style.
Yes.
Was there any particular reason behind that?
It was about like well in terms of movement, not reinventing the wheel. Like we want to stay pretty traditional, like and keep like the tactical aspects of like facing direction and turn order, movement and things like that. Keep that pretty traditional because like we wanted to put all our focus on the biggest part that we didn't know, which was the combat system of the cards and dice. Like, all right, let's go with known quantities for everything else, but for this stuff, let's make this thing special.
Yeah, and that does flow into my next question. How does the cards and dice system work?
Okay, the so as I was saying, it's a pretty traditional tactical game. But yeah, where the game is different, where Children of the Zodiacs is different, is that instead of like having a static list of abilities that you like unlock through leveling up or like unlocking with job points, where you always have access to them, and they're managed through mana usually. The What's different about Cause is that all of your attacks, your abilities, your spells, they're all executed through cards. And this is where it's like, yeah, it's a card system where each of your heroes has a deck, their own unique deck that you build through the deck builder outside of battle. And like cards are drawn from that into each character's hand, as these are what abilities are available to you at this moment. So like when you use a card, when you use that ability, you then discard that card. So then next turn, your options are different, and you need to like think ahead a bit of like, all right, I'm going to use this card this turn because I'm going to save these ones for the next one, and this one as an emergency backup. So like even in terms of the choice of which ability you're going to use, you think about it at a much different level than what is traditionally done. And so the cards are what you're going to do. Like, all right, it's going to be an attack of this AOE shape and of this range, and it's going to have these additional effects. The dice, that's what determines how it'll be done. That ability, like we use symbol based dice, not numeric based. So it's not like Dungeons and Dragons where it's like a pass fail, more or less binary type thing. That when you roll the dice, you roll your dice after each card you play. When you roll the dice, the all the different symbols, they have a different effect. They'll do things like increase your damage, draw an extra card, get an extra action, or trigger a special effect on a card, like with the star symbols. And so with that, uh, when you roll the dice, and what the outcome is going to be can be depending on the makeup of your dice, can be different each time. And like, this does sound like there's like a lot of luck to the game, and yes, I mean that's the case. Uh, but like, I mean, luck is generally, yeah, a part of the genre, where like there's chance to hit, and then there's procking and all this other stuff. Um, but what we're doing is that there's the luck factor, but it's also a luck that you influence, where yeah, like with the cards, you build the deck so you can kind of control the odds of drawing one card versus another. Like if you're drawing heals too many times, then take out some of your healing cards out of your deck. But you need to be careful, because if you take them all out or too many out, then you're never going to get healing when you want it. So you need to find that balance as a player. The And for the dice, when you roll them, you are then able to select up to 2 dice to pick up and then re-roll to try for another outcome. Like, say, oh yeah, I'm trying to kill this guy, and then I'm trying to like, I just want to get the damage increasing symbols. You roll the dice, but then like like a lightning bolt will come up. Like, oh, okay, I have an extra action. Actually, if I don't, if I actually re-roll my dice to get, maybe I can get an attack like an AOE that'll take out this guy next turn and will allow me to hurt the guy that's next to him. So new opportunities are always presenting themselves, and so as a player, like, you need to identify them and take advantage of them. And it's these systems of influencing luck that allow that to really kind of come out, because you can also the game does have like buffs and debuff of increased damage, decreased damage, draw more cards, or things like that. But the way we do it is that, like, a damage buff puts damage dealing dice on the character. So again, it rolls back into the core of the game of the tactics cards and dice, and like feeds the dice aspect of it. And it like, so there's that, but also whenever you complete battles, you collect more dice. The dice come in different symbol configurations, and they have increased strength, etc. So you can equip the dice onto your character in order to, like, increase the odds of getting certain symbols versus another. And to push that even further, we have the dice crafting system, where the player, you can customize your dice and change the symbols that are on them, where you use all your excess dice as the crafting components to change things up on your dice that you want to keep.
And are the dice and cards like uniform from character to character, or will some characters like have more dice, more cards, less, so on and so forth?
So for cards, each of the character has their own unique set of cards. So like Nami has Blitz, no one else has Blitz. Like Pester has Quick Draw, no one else has Quick Draw. Sorry. So yeah, so each hero, they have their own unique sets of cards. The for the dice, the characters have, like, when you get a die, it's specific to a character. So Nami, she can only the main character of the game, she can only equip the dice that are for her. So in that way, each character has a bit of a personality with the dice that they have, but it's with the dice crafting that you can then change that up and play with it. But there are, like, I think in terms of in the game, we have something like 3,200 dice, and those are the ones that we built. Of course, with the dice crafting, yeah, players can take that in a different direction and increase those numbers.
And how does the dice crafting system work?
The dice crafting system, so you have your all the dice in the game are d6. So you have your d6, and you all right, you select a face on the dice. So like, hey, I'm gonna change this one. Like, uh, it's a shard. The side is a shard right now, which increases damage, but I need stars to trigger my card effects. So you can then go in and try to change that. The different um, and then yeah, in order to craft a symbol, like it has component requirements where I don't know the exact formula, but like star, you need like 3 shield symbols, 1 shard, and 1 draw card symbol. So in all of your excess dice, you then look for dice that have those symbols on it, so that all right, this dice has like 2 shards, 2 stars, and 2 hearts. So if you select that, that will add 2 shards towards the crafting requirement. So you select all your dice, and then when you choose craft, that'll consume all those dice. So you kind of you need to be a bit mindful about which dice you choose for crafting. And in terms of like what kind of constraints there are on dice crafting, so each dice has a level, and that level dictates how high of a numbered symbol it can have. So, for example, the level 2 dice can have shard 2, shield 2, heart 2. But a level 3 dice can have shard 3 as a max, heart 3 as a max, shield 3. So as you go through the game, you start getting higher level dice, and like so more power. So it's like cards and dice are your basically your equipment of in the game. It's your gear where you're by equipping different dice, you're equipping like progressively stronger and stronger weapons. And then the cards themselves, they the cards unlock when you when the hero levels up, they unlock new cards, but also old cards they'll get upgraded so that like new abilities get added, and they get stronger. So there can be a card that all right, you know what? I've been using it for a while. I gotten kind of like my deck's changed a lot, so I don't really need this card anymore. But then the card will upgrade, and it's like, oh, okay, actually, I'm gonna bring this back now because it fits in a different way, and I'm gonna try to build a different deck and experiment with these things. And yeah, and then also on dice, there are some sides that are locked, that those symbols, those sides cannot be changed. But with that though, there are some really rare dice that don't have locks on them, and so you can kind of do what you want with them.
Huh. I'm assuming that's the really high level stuff.
Yeah, that's like the more the end game type dice. That's where you're likely to get it. Which I mean makes sense because those last dice, the strongest ones, are the ones that you want to keep. So you want to sink a lot of time into them and a lot of resources into them, customizing them, because you know that you're not going to find a stronger one than that.
Right. So tell us about the protagonist of this game, Nami and her crew.
Well, so Nami and her crew, they're orphans. They're street urchins. Because in the game takes place in the city of Taurus, where there's like the 2 very distinct zones because they're following a class system of the nobles living in a like the very posh, very luxurious area, and then there's the slums, the shambles, where everyone else lives, and they eat what falls down from the nobles district type of thing, kind of literally as well. And so Nami and her crew, they live in the shambles, and they're part of a gang of thieves called the Family, that's run by Zerkov, like an older guy that takes care of these orphans, and takes them in, feeds them, clothes them, but in return he has them go kill and steal for him. Yeah, so in the game, Nami and her group, they're given the task of breaking into a super rich noble's vault and stealing a priceless Zodiac relic. Uh, so so yeah, the story is about that and how it kind of unfolds and priorities change as the heist goes on.
Hmm. And so shifting a bit to the actual nuts and bolts of the game, was this developed in Unity or Unreal or some sort of engine?
It was developed in Unity. I think we shipped in 5.5.2 patch 4.
Hmm. And did you find that to be a smooth experience?
Yeah, actually, pretty not that bad at all. I mean, like, despite its reputation, like with the asset flippers and all that kind of stuff, um, Unity is not that bad of an engine. I mean, it comes with its own problems, of course.
Hmm.
Where, I mean, it's kind of a black box in a lot of areas. That if if there is a problem with it, well, you either need to figure it out and dig deep and solve it yourself, and you can't really go super deep with Unity because it's meant as accessible. Um, that if you have a problem with it, you kind of need to rely on Unity to fix it, and they've got a lot of stuff on their plate. So in in some ways, like, it's pretty tough. But what's important is to uh, you need to keep that in mind about what Unity can do, what it can't do, and work within those constraints. So when you do that, it's actually not that bad. Um, yeah, I mean, like in Unreal, it's
Uh-huh.
good and bad in different ways than Unity. I mean, but there's still great options for developing games.
True enough. True enough. I suppose, where I've heard the majority of grumbling about Unity outside of the asset flips and whatnot is getting the engine to run on consoles.
Well, so that was actually for us was super simple. I mean, the Unity works with the console manufacturers to make sure that it's compatible and working well because they know that so many and like indies and so many people use it that both Unity and like Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, they know that it's in their interest to make sure that the porting process is as seamless and smooth as possible.
I suppose.
Uh, yes. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say that we once we had our PS4 dev kits set up, we had the game running on it like 90% equal to on PC within a day and a half.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I suppose in the case of children, Zordio. Oh, somebody dropped.
It was just Ogre again.
Okay. I suppose in the case of Children of the Zodiacs, it's easier to do because you've got a tactical role-playing game versus like a action platformer or something like that. You know. one of those things is going to be a bit more taxing on the system, due to objects moving and what have you. Like,
I mean, it can be, but again, it's all in
uh-huh.
how you do it. Like, for example, like our lead programmer, he's
Mhm.
super experienced. He's been working in games since like the PS1 days. So in terms of like being efficient and like a very solid architecture, like yeah, he was excellent in making sure that where we've had very few bugs throughout the entirety of production. That when we shipped an alpha to our Kickstarter backers and a beta, they were extremely stable. And yeah, so like with that experience, like, and you can make depending on how you approach it and like how your integration is done, and like just how efficient your game is. uh there can be absolutely no difference between PC and console in order to get it up and running. That yeah, so the genre really doesn't have much to do with it. It's actually really more the skill of our programmers, who were fantastic.
Duly noted. Duly noted. And what led you to choose the PlayStation 4 as the console of choice for children here?
Uh, Yep. So a couple reasons. Um, Back in September 2014, we were on the Square Enix Collective's community feedback phase, where like if you're familiar with the Square Enix Collective, they're basically there to help um, indies out using the power of being a big publisher. And they've been awesome. Super happy. And then so a few years ago, they released a platform where developers can submit their game, like do a pitch, like kind of like a mini Kickstarter, where you present your game to the community, and the community then votes on the game. Like, are you interested in it? If it had a crowdfunding campaign, would you back it? Yes, no. So when we went through that, and we ended up with like the at the time, like after like 20 projects or something, we had the highest yes percentage there, and 93%, and we're still in the top 5 or 7 or something like that. And we also so during that campaign, we ran a poll of like, hey, what platform do you play your tactical RPGs on? And what came back from that was, yeah, the PS3 at the time, I believe, was the highest one. That, or it was like second with, I think PC might have been 33 and PS4 33, or a little, or one around there. So okay, that's where our audience is, but also the the Sony consoles, they have more of a legacy and a tradition with games of this genre, other than Nintendo. But like, I mean, the Wii was out, the Wii U wasn't even out yet. Maybe it was, I don't know.
2014, the Wii U was the thing.
Yes, that's true. It was. All right. Thank you. Yeah. So like, and for us, it was kind of like, I don't know. It's not. Doesn't really look like it's doing too well. So Microsoft was still was. I mean, the it's not doing as well as PS4. So all those three factors together just kind of really cemented the decision to go with PS4 as the console version.
Did Sony ever push for like a Vita version?
We've had a couple reps, a couple dudes from Sony talk to us, and one of them gave me a copy of uh, geez, Sword City. I think it was for Vita. Anyways, but the in terms of a Vita release, it's something that we're gonna have to fund ourselves. So, and we don't really have the finances to do that at the moment, and so and also it's going to be a lot of work to make sure that it can fit and run well on the platform. Uh, so it's something we're looking at and we're still keeping an eye on because a lot of people have asked us about it. And we're not writing it off, but it's still in that stage of yeah, we kind of need to see how things go.
I don't know how well the Vita is doing these days, but it's not it's kind of been kept alive by niche Japanese releases and indie games.
Yeah, it's not doing well in the US. Apparently it's doing much better in Japan, but like you said, there is definitely a niche market that it's doing pretty okay with.
If I had to pick a handheld for this thing to appear on, it'd be the Switch.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'd love to be able to like have it on the Switch because I mean, the platform is great for this type of game. Play a few turns on the bus or whichever, waiting in line. All right, oh, I'm up. Snooze it. Put it in your bag. Come back a bit later. Yeah. And thing is, there are certain aspects of that which are kind of out of our hands, and kind of the same situation as the Vita. it's a, we need to kind of see how things go with the PC and PS4 version before we can properly make a call.
Fair enough. Although it's like once again, it's not just the Nintendo Switch being like powerful enough or anything. Like the Nintendo Switch has a future, where the Vita, I don't know much longer that's going to be a thing.
Yeah, it kind of seemed like Sony does not care anymore. I mean, they don't talk about it at E3 or any press conferences anymore at all. So yeah.
Anyway, so how did you get hooked up with the Square Enix Collective?
Well, they're publishing Children's Zodiacs kind of really due to the long history we have with them. As I was saying, we put the game up on. I mean, it was called a different name at the time, but we put the game up on their platform for the community feedback stage back in September 2014, and it did well. And once that campaign was over, what at the time what Square Enix Collective had stated out is that they have multiple stages they can work with a developer for. First is the community feedback. If that goes well, then there's the option of going with their support for a crowdfunding campaign. And if that all goes well, talks of publishing distribution can happen. And so we went through all those stages. We did the community feedback. It went super awesome. We then, I guess, once we had enough of the game built, we then went with Square Enix Collective for the Kickstarter campaign in January 2016. And that went really, really amazingly well as well. Then after that, we just kind of more casually talked about the publishing aspect. And yeah, I mean, after we felt we were far along enough to all right, let's properly have these talks. We did, and we were both happy with the situation. We both wanted to work together, because I mean, Phil Elliott, the guy that runs and heads up the Square Enix Collective, I really like the guy. I really believe him and his intentions for the collective that he started up. That he does care about indies, and uh, he really like pushes us to make sure that when we're making decisions, make that concern them, to make decisions that are good for us. And hey, if you want to do this, if you want to do this, of course we would like it, but if you want to do something different, because you think it's better for you, then yeah, I mean, give you information, and if that's what you want to do, then we'll do that with you, type of thing. And because we've had full creative control over the game. They've been more helping us with the aspects outside of production of publisher, or sorry, not publisher, platform submission, age rating, all this type of stuff. And yeah, it's been really great, and I really believe in the guy, and what he's trying to do. So yeah, we're super happy to work with the collective for the game publishing because of that. And yeah, that was, I guess that was a that was a deal that was what, for 3 years in the making.
Something like that. All right, I'm going to see if my colleagues have any final questions here because we are getting low on time.
Sure thing.
I think most of my questions have been answered. The game looks pretty interesting, though, and even though I'm actually pretty bad at strategy, I generally enjoy this kind of game, so I'm looking forward to trying it out if we can get some to review.
Sure thing. Definitely. Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, Petty Fan?
I think I'm good.
All right. All right. I think that'll about do it. So, yeah, thank you for taking time out of your schedule here, Jason, and being with us to talk about Children of the Zodiacs.
Children of Zodiac. There's no the.
Yeah, sorry. Children of Zodiacs.
No worries. It's a common one to have happen.
Yeah, so the game is Children of Zodiacs. It's available on the PlayStation 4 and PC. Is it Windows, Mac, and Linux, or is it just Windows?
Right now, it's Windows. We are we're working on some patches for the Windows version. Looking to get them out pretty soon. And once we're kind of done addressing some of the bigger pieces of feedback that we can technically do, just some of them we can't do. Once we're done that, we're going to return back to a Mac port. And so currently, those are the platforms that are in the plans. There's been a lot of asking for Linux as well. So it's also another thing we're going to look into.
Okay.
And yeah, but it's out on GOG, Steam, Green Man Gaming, Humble Store. Yeah.
Okay, and it's currently going for $17.99, or collector's edition $22.86.
Yes.
And what's in the collector's edition?
The collector's edition has the game's soundtrack. It has I believe 33 tracks in it. And it has an art book, a digital art book, where it has a lot of the iterations, character design stuff and environment stuff of how we ended up with the what we have in the final game, and shots of the final assets, of the final character designs, of the dialogue portraits that we use. And it also has a lot of background text of me and the writer talking about the characters, the locations, the design process, and how we came up to the final results and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
You've hit me in the weak spot. I'm weak to art books.
Oh, okay. Well, awesome then.
Yeah. All right. Hopefully, we'll get those codes then. Right.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, Petty Fan, play us to the next segment. All right, welcome to the topic of discussion for the week. This time around, we're going to be talking about the cash shop feature of MMORPGs. Petty Fan, this is the topic you wanted to talk about, so you lead the way here.
Alright, for those of you not in the know, a lot of MMOs nowadays, like WoW, Guild Wars, and Final Fantasy XIV have all started picking up cash shops.
This is more forgivable for some of them that are not called WoW.
Or
And
also Final
therefore-
Fantasy XIV, basically
Yeah.
ones who aren't subscription based. And some of these aren't as bad as others. Like Final Fantasy XIV's, most of the stuff you can get from the cash shop is either has been or is available in game. So like the dyes, you can just, go get. You don't have to buy it off the cash shop. But like WoW has like some special glamour items, some special mounts, special pets, which like it's nice that they're there, but the problem is you're paying monthly for the game.
Yeah, that's where it's kind of, if you're already paying monthly, you don't need, Jim Sterling calls it fee to pay. You don't need the stuff that you usually get in a free to play thing in a thing that you're already paying monthly for. Are the pets all mechanically equivalent, or?
From what I remember about WoW, the pets are basically just they hang around and do nothing. Like you get
Okay.
no significant gain from using a pet, from what I remember.
Okay.
And like Final Fantasy XIV has like some emotes that you can no longer get in game, but they also have something that a lot of people haven't been really too fond of, which is in Final Fantasy XIV they have 3 ways to get. They have 3 two-person mounts. 2 of those ways you can only get through the cash shop. One of them is getting married by paying. Isn't it like the $20 tier? I don't know if you remember Ogre. And like the other one is a $30 mount.
So when you get married, it comes with a free two-person car, metaphorically.
Well,
So that you can go places together with the person you married, presumably.
yeah, but that's only if you get the paid version. There's a free version, but you don't get a mount. And
The free version of married?
Yeah, there is a free version of Married in Final Fantasy XIV.
I didn't realize there was a paid version of married.
He's
Yeah.
talking about the services for
Yeah.
everything that's handled within the whole thing. So you can pay you can do a free package, you can do a paid package or a bigger paid package for it.
Yeah. Let me pull that up real quick. Because, yeah, like... And I guess I should also mention the third way to get a two-person mount is through the Recruit a Friend campaign. If your friend's been subscribed for, I believe it's 3 months, then you get the Dreadnought Chocobo, which is the third two-person mount.
Is it just a super big chocobo?
Yep.
With possibly more armor?
It has a different saddle. But yeah, and like WoW recently has been doing this thing called a WoW token, where it's essentially like buying a Battle.net gift card, but you're selling it on the WoW in-game auction house for in-game currency. Which, yeah, that's like a problem for me on so many levels. Oh, to get the wedding chocobo in 14 is the $40 package.
That's kind of expensive.
Yeah, but you also get other things. You get like, I believe it's the hug emote, a special cake you can put in your free company house or whatever, or your own house that you guys get. Special glamour, a ring that lets you teleport to where your spouse is, even if they're not near your aetherite thing. And
I mean, I guess that's good stuff.
yeah,
like, and
it's
thematic,
worth it
thematically
if you
appropriate.
yeah, it's worth it if the person you marry in game is an avid player.
Or at least if you really like playing together with them.
Yeah.
Which
Or you're a
presumably is
freak
why you're
and you
getting
just,
married.
Make an alt and marry your alt because you're weird.
I'm sure that's happened multiple
yeah.
times.
Is the wedding
Yeah, got
chocobo
it.
like all floral and with a bridle?
It's
and
white.
Just a white chocobo?
Yeah, I think it's. I don't have a really good picture on here. See if I can find a better one. But yeah, as far as I can tell, it's basically a white chocobo. Come on, internet. But yeah, like, the WoW token is especially a problem because, yeah, it's basically a white chocobo in what looks to be a bride's dress. Is the closest I can explain it.
Okay. You know what? I'll just check the wiki because I'm sure there's a wiki.
It's called the ceremony chocobo. And yeah, so like, and also there's a game called Black Desert Online, where they have some of their cash shop items similar to WoW that you can sell on the market board. And there's like this one item that a lot of people basically believe is mandatory because it sells for a lot. So you can get like 3-4 million gold just for like buying this $10 item. But at least I believe Black Desert is similar to Guild Wars, where you just pay the base game price and then you don't pay anything after that. So, it still kind of sucks that you have to, if you're the one to get the most out of the game, you have to, go buy something off the cash shop.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like, honestly, I'm like with a lot of people on this one. Cash shops aren't a problem in MMOs like WoW and 14, as long as you can get the items in game. I start
Oh,
strong.
it's Draft Chocobo,
Um.
not Dreadnought.
Oh. I can read.
That makes sense. Well, no, it's draft is a weird word, but that's the word for those like
well, it's
horses
also
that are like.
spelled weird.
That's the proper way to spell draft for like draft horse, I think, even. But yeah, Draught, which does have most of the letters of Dreadnought.
Yeah, I know how to spell. Only not.
So that makes sense. It would just be a really huge chocobo with fuzzy feet.
Well, it kind of is.
Yeah. No, that's the other thing about draft horses. They always have fuzzy feet. Anyway, continue.
But yeah, like, the only thing that a lot of people like are kind of mad about on 14 is there's an emote that everyone likes to use called Play Dead, where it's literally your character does their death animation. And it's $7, and you can't get it in game. So
Did you used to be able to?
No, it's one of the few emotes that have never been accessible in game. And like, I think
that's kind of weird.
Well, because it's something the community's been wanting. So, hey, $7, please.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, like, and they also have the basic stuff in here, like they have the jump potions, which we talked about, which I'm fine with. and the story skips. They finally add the Moogle attire.
Is that which is just cosmetic, or
Yeah, everything on the Mog Station is cosmetic.
is the Moogle gear like a Moogle Kigurumi, or is it like an actual makes you look like a Moogle?
It depends on your gender, I believe. Yeah, the male one, it looks more like you're basically wearing a Moogle onesie, and the female one, it looks kind of like you're wearing a dress with a Moogle head.
See, my main issue with that is that when Yuno wore it, it was just a costume.
Well, it still looks like a costume. Like, they have with the male wearing it, they have the race called the Rogadin, which is the lard race.
Yeah.
And they look kind of funny wearing it for obvious reasons.
Because they're about as different from Moogles as you can be without, while still being in the same game.
Yeah. And like, they just recently added the basically Sentai poses, which I missed that event, so I grabbed those, which I'm fine with that because I missed that event because I'm dumb. But like stuff like emo, like Play Dead. What is the other one people were bitching about?
Actually, I am kind of okay with this is a thing that's been developing with the ability to pay a little bit of money to get things that you missed in a live event.
Oh yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that because like there are
other
some
than
live.
it's because. Sorry.
I was just gonna say there were some live events that happened before I even started that I can get stuff from on the Mog Station.
Yeah, their trend tends to be that every year, the previous events, special items go up on the cash shop.
Oh, it's Backflip is the other one people were very unplussed about. It's the only way you can get it is paying $7 on the Mog Station.
So these were ones that literally didn't exist.
Yeah.
But the idea of them was really obvious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the some classes their victory animation is kind of similar to a backflip, but like if you wanted to play as a samurai and just kind of do a backflip, you had to go on the Mog Station and buy an emote. And like they've added most of the seasonal attire, like what was that Japanese event they had like a few months ago?
Something related to Journey to the West, I think.
Well, not that. That was the Amazon thing. Like there was another in-game event that gave you like the samurai helmets.
I forget when Boys Day is.
I think it might have been related to Golden Week, though.
Might have been.
I feel like that would be a pun. But it doesn't even work because samurais don't throw money at people in this game.
At least not yet. Wait till we hit 7, or wait till we hit 80.
Well, that's always been an ability that I would kind of question in an MMO, since money is...
Yeah, touche.
Unlike in most actual RPGs, in an MMO, money is either very important or completely useless if the economy's gotten out of control.
Unfortunately, it depends on the server. Like, some servers are just total trash. Like, our market board's not doing too hot on Genova.
Just take one look at it, and it's just.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like, there's a YouTuber I follow who does a lot of economic stuff in 14. I'm pretty sure if she saw our market board, she'd have a conniption. But yeah, the other two-person mount is the Fat Chocobo. Or not Fat Chocobo, Fat Moogle. Where it's basically a giant Moogle that looks like it has been inflated. With a chair underneath it that two people can sit in.
Oh yeah.
So it flies and you're sitting on a and like a love seat underneath it.
Basically.
I think it's lifted in the air by balloons. I think.
No, the Moogle itself is the balloon on this one.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. I'm thinking about something else.
That's the like bomb chair. I forget what it's actually called. Optional items. I think it's also on the cash shop. Oh no, it is not. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can get on the cash shop, but none of it's required. Unlike WoW, where you can literally, if you have a bunch of bunch of gold saved up. I've been playing Final Fantasy too much. If you have a bunch of gold saved up, you can literally just pay for your sub with your own gold. Which I'm not sure how I feel about that.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
I guess for a thing I guess it's interesting if you'd allow people to pay with in-game currency for things that would normally take real money.
Yeah, it's like...
It depends on whether you're okay with money going back and forth both ways, kind of.
It's like, I just don't really like the concept of basically using the in-game fun bucks to get something that was purchased with real money. I'm kind of the type of person who wants to keep that kind of stuff separate, but, you know, I could see someone who puts a lot of time in the game and like, oh, I don't have money to cover my sub this month, just go basically buying their sub off the auction house.
Well, and especially for things like paying for... This is partially due to my opinions on paying for a subscription to a game. Making that able to be done with in-game money is an interesting thing because it would allow for potentially for like more dedicated players to pay less for it.
Yeah.
Because they could afford it in-game.
Yeah. Though at the same token, people who like you know, throw money at like these what are basically illegal gold farmers, you know, they pay them $5 and then they can get, you know, the money to pay for their sub.
Granted.
What was that, Golix?
I said granted. It's not like a simple yes, this is good, or no, this is not.
It's like it also depends on, you know, how you feel about this kind of stuff. But yeah, it's like, I can kind of see why the cash shops are here, but at the same time, you know...
Well, the real reason why they're there is because, hey, there's a way we could be making money that we're not doing. We should probably do that.
Yeah, like, it's fine to have, you know, catch-up items on here. Like, they had last year's Easter events music roll put up. And I think last year's Moonfire Fair. And, like, so it's like, catch-up is fine, but, like, you know, $7 for an emote that you can get no other way is a little bit much. Or, like, paying Gil for essentially, I think it's like a $10... Like, it's not actually just for your sub on WoW. It's like $10 or $20 of Blizzard.net currency. So, like, not only could you use it for WoW, you could, like, buy the next expansion with those, or buy Overwatch, or StarCraft, or Diablo, or whatever's on Battle.net today.
Interesting.
So, yeah. And, like... you know, how do I want to put this? Cash shops are cool, but just don't go too hog wild with them.
Indeed.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
I don't think any of us would say that there aren't some things that it's appropriate to have in
Yeah.
cash shops.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of what.
Right. So you finished with this yet, or
Yeah.
Good, because yeah, it's 20 till,
Yep.
right? All right. So looks like that'll about do it for this installment of Fragments of Silicon. Uh, do you have who is headlining MSP in front of you, or do you need me
It
to?
should be Ed Greenwood, but I need to get back to him and make sure he's still good because we made this a little far in advance.
Hmm. Yeah. I think we got the first 2 weeks booked up,
Yeah.
which is fine for now. But you're probably going to need some more guests here soon, or else Mac's going to start bellowing again.
I know.
Depending on how the cast ends up getting shifted around, I may have some ideas, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. We'll see how things go. Yeah. All right. As far as this show goes, next week we'll be interviewing on Tuesday, August 15th, Sebastian Mittag of Studio Fizbin. They're the developers of The Inner World, which we reviewed last season. They're working on the sequel right now, and we'll be talking about that. And
That was one of those weird adventure platformer games we played.
yeah, well, it was a point-and-click adventure game. It was the one with it was the very German one with the guy with the flute for the nose.
Right.
I'm like,
I keep getting that one mixed up with what's the other one? Sorry, I'm just flipping through my Steam thing quickly. I keep getting that one mixed up with Stick It to the Man.
okay, I'm not sure how, considering they're very, very different games.
The aesthetic seems similar to me somehow.
I guess, but yeah, they're working on the sequel to The Inner World, and we're probably going to be talking about that. And on Wednesday, August 16th, we'll be talking to Francisco Gonzalez of Grundslav Games. He was also a part of Wajatai Games until recently. We'll know him as one of the guys who worked on Shardlight, I believe.
I was gonna say I remember that game that they did.
Oh man.
Yeah, he was he was one of the people who worked on that one. The big project I think he did for Wajatai was a solo was a Golden Wake. I have not played that one. Currently, he's developing a game called Lamplight City. It's very noirish from what I've seen, or maybe Victorian. It's like, he's
Gothic?
setting something like that. Yeah, it's like late Victorian era.
With a name like that, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I'm like, and I believe he's going to send footage of that sometime this week. And let's see, as far as reviews go, we've got 3 of them, a first for us, and there's a reason for that. It's because, well, Spiral Splatter, there's not a lot to this game.
That review is gonna take 10 minutes tops.
Yes.
10 minutes is being extremely generous.
Yeah, it's like when I first played it, I'm like, there is no way that this is gonna take anywhere near our usual length.
I suppose there's a miraculous off chance that once you get to the stages you have to be good to get to, this game changes and gets more involved, but I don't think that's very likely.
Not too much. Like, not too much. I mean, considering you kind of have to get it's not so much you have to get good. It's like the controls needed to be, well, good. Like I said. Anyway, also we are also reviewing West of Loathing, the new RPG from the developers of who here knows Kingdom of Loathing?
I am vaguely familiar with it. I've never actually played it, but I know of it as like an RPG thing set in kind of a snarky world with everything kind of extremely tongue-in-cheek and with an elemental system involving things like grossness and
Yeah, yeah,
greeniness.
yeah, that's pretty close to what West of Loathing is, except well, it takes place in the Wild West, and you know everything has a Wild West flavor to it. And it is snarky as hell. Like, in fact, that's really that's I'd say what the main draw of this game is. Like, not really the RPG mechanics. Like, those are pretty basic and standard. But more on that in the review ahead. And our third game is going to be Jotun Valhalla Edition. Now, this is the rare game that we weren't gifted. This was actually we actually picked this one up for free. Well, most of us did. Now it's like some people didn't see the notice until it went price again.
Yeah, it was briefly free on Steam, and we had interviewed the people who did it a while ago, I think.
Actually, we have never interviewed Thunder Lotus Games. Like,
oh,
yeah, it's like not from a lack of
sworn
time.
it had come up in an interview.
It does seem like the kind of game we would have done an interview for, but like I said, I tried getting Thunder Lotus Games, they just never responded. So, and they made the Jotun free to celebrate their new release, like Sundered, I think it's called.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like that one we're not going to have regular video footage because Petty Fan didn't grab it in time.
Sundered is Sundered the one with the slashing off the arms, collecting arms.
Possibly, I'm drawing a blank there. But anyway,
no, I'm thinking Severed. I think.
Yeah, Severed.
In fairness, those are very similar names.
Mm-hmm. But very different games.
Yeah.
Like, no, we did do an interview with the developers of Severed.
Yeah.
Back when that was releasing on the Wii U. It's coming to the Nintendo Switch soon. Second game to use handheld mode.
I was gonna say that's a very touch game, so you're not gonna be able to use that on the TV.
Nope. Anyway, so that's the week ahead. Be sure to join us on Sunday for all the reviews. And until such time, I wish you good gaming.